Does your child struggle to stay on track when there's no school bell ringing? If summer turns into a swirl of emotional dysregulation, forgotten tasks, and maybe even power struggles, you're not alone. In today's episode, we're talking about how to support your child's executive functioning skills during the most unstructured time of the year, and how a simple summer schedule just might be a good secret weapon. So grab your coffee and a notepad. This conversation is packed with gold. Welcome to Calm Connection Parenting, where we buckle up for the emotional roller coaster of raising intense and highly sensitive kids and discover some amazing things along the way. I'm your host, Jamie Kirkbride, a mom of 7, parenting coach, professional counselor, and your guide through the wild world of meltdowns, challenging behaviors, and big emotions. If you're exhausted and overwhelmed, feeling like you're always one step away from chaos, searching for a little calm in your day, then you're in the right place. Here, you'll find practical tools and faith-based strategies to transform your family. Together, we'll laugh, we'll learn, and we'll figure out how to turn those messy meltdowns into moments of connection. Let's jump in. Summer can be a wonderful time for connection, creativity, and even a little bit of freedom from that busy routine. But sometimes for families, that same freedom can turn into chaos. And if you're parenting a child who struggles with executive functioning, things like time management, planning, task initiation, and emotional regulation, then you already know that summer's lack of structure can be incredibly challenging. So today we're diving into how you can intentionally design your summer days to reduce the stress, foster some independence, and help your child build the skills they need to thrive. So I'm so excited to have with us today Leslie Josel. She was with us for the Calm Connection Parenting Summit. She's an award-winning coach, author, and founder of Order Out of Chaos. She's a nationally recognized expert on ADHD, executive functioning, and student success. And she's known for giving parents and kids practical strategies that actually work. Whether she's speaking on global stages or guiding parents one-on-one, Leslie's mission is clear: to help families bring calm to the chaos and turn struggles into success. Leslie, thank you so much for being with us.
I am so happy to be here again with you because I know on the summit we had such a great conversation. I'm still on the fact that you have 7 children. You might not see her, and she's stunningly beautiful, friends. Like, look so put together and so calm. We all need that secret freedom.
Well, sometimes you have to pull it off on the outside so that you can
Yes.
start feeling it on the inside.
Yeah, I'm on that page with you. Yes, and it's funny. And my children are fully flown and grown, and yet it does. And I think this is a really interesting thing. The parenting doesn't stop. It really doesn't. It changes, obviously, and in some ways, I actually think it's harder.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. It takes a totally different emotional energy, but it was an emotional energy I wasn't ever really thinking
Yes.
about. That's so true. Well, we have so many good things to discuss. I know this
Sure,
is a
exciting.
topic we both love. So let's just start with the basics. I know
Sure.
some people may be new here that weren't a part of the summit. And don't worry, if you weren't a part of the summit, you still can be, and I will get you that information because what Leslie shared there was so useful as well. But maybe let's just start with some of those basics. What exactly are executive functioning skills, and how might they impact a child's day-to-day tasks, especially
Okay,
in
so
summer?
I'm going to give you what I normally do in 90 minutes in about 90 seconds. So hang on, friends. I'm going to speak fast. So a lot of you have probably heard of ADHD and executive functioning and think they're intertwined. They're intertwined, but they're not the same. And I think that's really important. And so when people ask me what the true definition of being ADHD is, most people think it's either hyperactive or maybe impulsive. I know that when people come to us, they say, my student has been diagnosed with ADHD inattentive. We don't really believe that so much. What we believe is that ADHD is actually lagging executive functioning skills. So we've got to go top down. We've got to go from the 36,000 level view to the granular. Or what it really is it's a self-regulation disorder. What in essence it is the being not always being able. No, it's not a perfect, meaning it's not always, so it's sometimes or most of the time, but it's not being able to do what you need to do and what you want to do with the right energy, the right focus, the right timing, the right cadence, the right all of it. So executive functions are what is how you act. Our executive functions are controlled by our frontal lobe. It's how you act. So it's everything from your organizing, from your time management, from your focus, from your effort, both initiating and sustaining. It's your working memory, which is how are you remembering to remember? It's how I describe it. It's your mood regulation, and mood regulation isn't always apparent. It's not always loud and explosive and angry. It could be very quiet and very insular. And then there's impulsivity, which I actually hate. I hate the word impulsivity because it's so negative. At Order Out of Chaos, we like to say self-leadership. It's
I love that.
Thank you. I appreciate that because you remember who we speak to all day long as students. Your listeners should know we do a tremendous amount of coaching. It's what we do, student and parent. And we're talking to students who are hearing negative messages all day long. So what would you rather hear, impulsivity or self-leadership? Yeah. Self-leadership has major growth potential. There's somewhere to go with that.
I have to tell you, you shared that at the summit. And since then, I've been using that in our own home. I love the term. It is so much more empowering.
It's empowering, and it's not negative. It's not judgmental. It's not sending these negative messages. And like I mentioned, I have very flown and grown children. I have a 31-year-old and a 27. They are fully flown and grown. And I still say that to my 27-year-old who has the executive dysfunction and ADHD. I still use the term with him, like self-leadership. Like, how do you see yourself? Do you see yourself doing? And that's really what self-leadership is. It could be as granular as, am I still listening? Am I still learning? Am I still paying attention? It's this very metacognition type of action. Yeah. So what is executive functions? It's being able to do all of those things. And our students that lack, and we call them students, we don't call them kids, it's just the Order Out of Chaos way, is when you are challenged with that, you're not able to do all those things because your thoughts, your sensations, your memory, your ideas are getting in the way. There's a tremendous amount of internal noise. And our students say to us all the time, I hear noises. And I'm not talking about like schizophrenia noise. It's that crackle in the brain that can't quiet, so that your student is available. It's a great word. Your student isn't available to be able to learn how to time manage, to learn how to focus, to learn even how to control their emotions. So we call them purposeful actions. That's how we drill it all the way down. Your executive functions are your purposeful actions, things you want and need to do.
Oh, I like that. I might have to start using that word as well. Well, I know many of the parents that I work with in our coaching program say that summer can feel a bit like a free fall with no structure. So how can parents create maybe a sense of rhythm or routine over the summer without turning into a boot camp kind of feel?
And you don't want it to be boot campy. And what we need to remember, and again, I know that there's many people out there who have schooling in a variety of ways. I've been doing this for 21 years, so I've seen all of it. Homeschooling, the co-ops, we call like brick and mortar. It's actually what we call your typical, like your kid goes to a building every day, like a typical school. And what we don't realize is school provides our kids with so many things that are super, super subtle. It provides our students with structure, right? Your student walks in the door of school and knows exactly where they have to be, when they have to be, how long a class is. Trust me, they know how long their classes are. Oh, yes, they do, right? There's a structure that is there without them even having to figure it out. So that mental cognitive load is shared. There's accountability, right? There's a lot of accountability. The teacher's right there going, you need to be doing X, Y, and Z right now. There's a lot of signaling, meaning your student, but this is important because I want you to think of what that school provides your child and how then we're going to mimic it at home. So what I love also about school is for your student that isn't always able to do their purposeful actions, there's a lot of body doubling going on. So if I'm, let's say, Eli, and I'm sitting in my chair and I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing right now, there's your self-leadership. Eli's going to look to his left and to his right and see that Sally is doing the do now right now and Max is doing the do now right now. Well, what do you think Eli's going to say? I need to be doing the do now right now, right? There's all of that happening at school. So so obviously we don't want that same structure, but we need to mimic at home. Now, these are for younger students. I believe as older kids go, they have a little more say and how they're spending it. Maybe they're at camps or part-time jobs. But if you have younger kids at home, what I want you to do is almost mimic the support and scaffolding that school provides. So what I love is you have a student at home, let's say it's home in the morning, and let's say you're home with them. I want you to post the schedule for the day. Your student really needs that. They need visual cues. They need to know what comes next. The ADHD executive functioning brain, I want you to hear me say this, friends, does not like to be caught off guard. It needs structure, it needs organization, it needs order. It needs to know what comes next. It's called ordination because their brain doesn't think that way. Oh, and again, these aren't absolutes, but they need to know what is coming next and how long do I have. Remember, we have time blindness happening. So you might actually post something, these are for young kids, that says from 9 to 10, free play. Your choice. Because what we want to do here is also build in a lot of choice and control. So it's the parent's job, I feel, to set parameters. It's your child's job to negotiate them.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. Give them the structure in which they learn to advocate or ask.
They get to say. So I don't want you to be saying from 9 to 10, you're going to draw or do a puzzle. I want you to say 9 to 10, free play, or 9 to 10, your choice. Then maybe 10 to 11 outside. Again, whatever they want to do, meaning they might want to bring a book outside. I don't feel it's for you to dictate what they do at that time. I feel it's your job to kind of structure the time. And then maybe 11 to 12. And again, I don't do things on the hour. We can talk about that in a minute. Could be parent time, right? Maybe you're going to do an activity with your child or that. It could even be cooking in the kitchen or working in the garden or we're going to, it could, but my point is it doesn't have to be, I know life is busy. So if it's not you sitting down to do something with them, it could be them doing something with you, but there's a connection of, hey, I'm going to go work in the garden from 11 to 12, or I'm even going to do some work in the house.
Okay. So joining you in what you maybe need to do.
Exactly.
Pulling them into that. That's a great idea.
That's a great idea. Isn't you give them another choice? Like, okay, if you don't want to do parent time, how about quiet time? And there should be, my point is I want you to give very wide parameters, but there needs to be parameters, but I want your child to make the choice what happens within that parameter.
No, I like that. I really like that. Now, on the younger side, we're probably setting some of those parameters, making them a little more clear. As they're getting older, they're learning to make those choices. So say we're working with 13, 14-year-old, and again, we know that emotional maturity of somebody who has these executive functioning difficulties could be, what do they say, 3 to 4 years different developmentally?
It's 30%. So meaning if you have a 13-year-old at home, that's your chronological age, but your executive age, so what we call it, it's executive age, will be 30% less. So you'll be 9. However, I don't want you all to go, wait, what? That's crazy. It is crazy, but it's not for every executive function. You might have a child at home who's time blind. Do I need to explain? Time blindness is not knowing where you sit in time, not knowing I have 20 minutes left, not being able to feel time, right? Going, wait, what? Right? Go, right? Like that, right? I mean, I know that wasn't very professional, but I'm living in your house. But so I always use my son as an example. My son was so time blind, but he actually he had really strong working memory. He could take in information and it would stick in his brain. So if you have a child at home with executive dysfunction, it doesn't mean they're going to have it across all executive functions. I have other students that we work with who actually are very time managed, but are very disorganized, right? So it's at 30% less your chronological age for that challenge.
For the challenge. And I think that's important because I think sometimes as parents, we think, but you do all of these things so well, and we carry that same expectation into maybe the area where they struggle. And I think it's helpful to keep that as a lens, like, are my expectations accurate? Do I need to adjust those expectations for those areas that they might struggle? But then building the supports. How do you feel about that?
We call it the should syndrome.
Right.
I know you're laughing at me. I've been doing this for 21 years. So I always say there's Leslie research and there's research, meaning I've been in the field for 21 years. We have coached thousands and thousands of students and parents. And I think the biggest thing we hear from parents is the should. I don't get it. My child, I'll try to say child. My child is 16. They should be able to. My child is 13. They should be able to. And I'm like, no, nicely, because I'm actually nice. I said, oh, that's really not. I try to be. Like I always say, do you want help or do you want hugs? Like I will work as hard as you, but I'm a straight shooter. And I'm like, no, that's actually incorrect because what you're dealing with here is a brain-based behavior. So there is no shoulds in a brain-based behavior world, right? Which is why you also might be like pulling the hair out of your head going, I don't get it. I have a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old, and sometimes my 13-year-old is way more capable. I hear that all the time. And I'm like, well, that tracks because your 13-year-old is 13, where your 16-year-old is 10, right? So you really need to be meeting your student where they are. Like you are not because I'm working with parents right now, and I say this, you're not gonna yell it out of them, you're not gonna argue it out of them, you're not gonna demand it out of them. You really need to take a step back and say, okay, where is my child right now, and how can I support and scaffold them where they are?
Oh, I like that. So tell me this, what tips do you have for helping an emotionally intense or neurodiverse child build independence in planning their day? You know, maybe they're on that older end and they're struggling to even initiate.
So I feel like there's a few things you can do, and it's funny. Like I'm tapping into my coaching. I'm tapping into my son. So my thing about this summer is that you really need to be. It's a balance. It's a dance. Like you want things to be a little looser, but you do want there to be structure. I feel like what you also should really be doing is tapping into your child's interest. If your child's a little older, I'm going to assume that they have some outside interest. They're not sitting home all day, right? Or they really shouldn't be. There's opportunities for social engagement, whether it's like, can't look, I'm a Northeast girl. I grew up going to, I'm a Northeast girl. I grew up going to sleepaway camp for 7 weeks, friends. My parents put me on a bus for to camp, and I didn't come home back then it was 8 weeks. My kids, starting at the age of 7, went to sleepaway camp for 7 weeks. I know it's really a geographical thing. Like those who come from the Northeast go, oh yeah, of course. And those in other places of the country go, what? You put a 7-year-old on a bus for like,
what?
That's my mindset. I feel though that even if they are home, there should be maybe, if you can, I know, money is always an issue, but that if you can send them to a camp or classes or some type of social interaction. We don't want our students staying home all day, every day without having any kind of interactions with their peers. So that's number one. When we think of executive functioning, and I think of everything through an executive functioning lens, social interactions is executive functioning on steroids. And we don't think of it that way.
That's true. That is very true.
And they need that. They need to, because here's what happens. Your child's in a group and maybe they have slow processing. Maybe they have weak working memory. So 10 people, they're in a group and eight of their peers are speaking, and they have to try to process that information. They have to try to hold on to what's being said. They have to prepare an appropriate response. And by the time they do, those kids have moved on to something else.
Yeah.
The only way that they're really going to be able to learn how to do that is if they're in the trenches. So being home all day is not going to strengthen that executive functioning muscle. The other thing is I always find by 13, 14, 15, there's something your child is interested in. Maybe it's music, maybe it's cooking. So I always say this about my kid when he was home. Now, he wasn't home all summer. But when he was home, he always used to find me, and I loved to cook, and he would come into the kitchen and work with me in the kitchen. He's 27 now, and he cooks, and he really cooks. So I want you to try to engage your child in what is going on maybe in your house. Maybe it's cars, right? So maybe give them the car manual, and maybe they're about to learn how to drive. I believe your kid should know everything there is to know about their car before they're allowed to drive. So it's a great opportunity for them to learn everything there is about their car. Tap into that interest. Other thing that I see with a lot of students is they come and they say, I'm bored, I'm bored, I'm bored. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? They're not really bored as much as it's very difficult for them to start. Starting is one of the biggest executive functions.
True, very true.
So what I used to do for my own students, and what I see a lot of parents do now, is they will put something out like a Lego, let's say, or a puzzle. So if you have a puzzler at home, it's not that they don't want to sit down and do the puzzle, but they have to like unwrap the puzzle, put the pieces out, maybe start it. So what I used to do is I would put out like 1,000-piece puzzle on our dining room table, and I would do a few pieces and leave it. Or I would take out a Lego set and I would leave it all out there with the instructions and leave it. And me initiating that bought me hours of time. Because what's really getting in the way for your student isn't the task, it's the starting of the task.
So I love that. That's a great tip.
Well, thank you.
I love that.
I got that because I will listen to parents who coach with me and say, I don't understand. Like, if, we love puzzles in my family, and if I go to, Johnny and say, go do a puzzle, he doesn't. But if we had a puzzle out on the table and he would sit down and like work on it. And there's that connection of what is one of the hardest things for someone with executive functioning to do? It's it's task initiation.
Yeah, and that's so true.
So true. So if you can like start a puzzle or Lego, or even, what do they call it when you chop up like, food, mise en place, I think it's called in the kitchen. I'm sorry that I don't know what that is. But if you can put out the ingredients and put out the recipe, that setting up the task, not only buy you hours of time, but will keep them activated and engaged.
And that's really getting my brain going. I know Leslie has so many more good tips to share with us. I want to let you know, if you are listening today and you're thinking, man, these are great, I'm not exactly sure of my child's needs, or I just need a little support in carrying this out, I'm not going to leave you hanging. I've got your back, and I want to share this with you. Are your child's emotions and challenging behaviors pushing you to the edge? You're not alone. From constant struggles to emotional outbursts, it's easy to feel like you're just one step away from chaos. But what if I told you there's a better way? In the Calm Connection program, you'll get access to a video course, workbooks, and a supportive community to learn practical, faith-based strategies for handling even the toughest of behaviors. But the best part, you get weekly coaching calls with me, where we can explore your child or family's specific struggles and work together for some solutions. If you're tired of trying methods that just don't work, or you feel like you don't have time to add one more thing to your plate, don't worry. This program was designed to fit into a busy parent's life and give you real solutions with some quick wins too. Ready to take the first step toward a calmer home? Visit calmconnectionparent.com and learn more about the Calm Connection coaching program. You've got this, and I'm here to support you. That's right. We are starting a new coaching group next week. So don't miss out. Be sure to get your seat. And I would love to support you, your child, your family as you start making some of these changes, as you start understanding and appreciating your child's unique wiring. Now, we're back to visit with Leslie. She has so many good things to share with us. We often hear about executive functioning challenges and how they show up differently for kids in various ages. And we've talked a little bit about that. What kind of supports work best for the younger kids versus maybe the older children? Because I'm guessing we're going to utilize different tools for those ages. Just maybe give us an idea.
Sure. So with our younger children, now again, I always say this, some things, the kid is 8 or 18, it might work for both, but we do tend to do things differently because as our children get older, again, it goes back to what I said. It is our job as parents to set parameters and it's your child's job to negotiate them. And as they get older, there should be way more negotiation and the parameters should be bigger. But if we have younger children, I'm sorry, it's just, we are student focused at OOC. What we need to do is be supporting them. We always say a point of performance. And what that means is everything needs to be external. So I want to talk about time because I think time should start at a very early age. There are things that I really believe that you as the parent are going to control for a while, particularly with a young student. It's just what it is. I feel time, you can really start teaching it early on. So how do we do that? So this is my mantra. If you notice, we have a lot of mantras.
Good.
And they're memorable, which is why we do. That's right. It's very meta. So we believe that you cannot expect your child to manage their time if they cannot see it. So I'm a time management expert and I create an academic planner, I sold it last year, but I built it on that premise of how are we expecting our children to learn about time and manage time if they're not seeing it? And time is very visible if we make it so. So if you have students at home, what I want you to do is you have to externalize time for your student to internalize it. So there should be analog clocks, analogs, right? Where your child can see the sweep of time. There should be analogs hung in every room your child spends time in. Their bedroom, the bathroom, especially the bathroom, the kitchen, the den, even the basement if you have one where they play, because they need to see time move. You will never be time managed if you do not see what we call the sweep of time. How much time has passed? How much more time do we have?
These little timers are great.
I think timers are great, but I actually like a clock better because clocks give you the sweep. Clocks let you see how much time has passed and how much time do we are. It gives you the actual time of day. Timers, me too. What timers do is a little bit different, friends. What timers do is hold future time.
Okay.
So if you have a child who's, let's say at home, a younger who's playing and they're going to let's say their swim lesson, I'm thinking the summer, maybe a swim lesson or activity at a local community center, what you can do is set a timer for that transition. This way your child doesn't have to remember it. They can be in present time. The timer holds what we call future time. Oh, timer goes off. That means I have to start transitioning out. It's different than clocks. Clocks let us see the actual time move. It lets us see where we are in relation to the rest of our day.
Bigger picture. And that is important. Yeah. Yes. I'd never thought of that difference, but it's big.
It's very big. And as for younger students, we can even start asking questions to get them familiar with thinking what we call future awareness. Future awareness is understanding that something 30 minutes from now, tomorrow, a week from now, has to be thought about now. Things like, so you can say, what is your plan after you finish playing your Legos? Or what's your plan after dinner? What's your plan after your shower? Those are ways that we strengthen the time management muscle part of our brain by getting them to connect the now to the not now.
Yeah, because they only have 2 times, now and not now, right?
Exactly.
Very good. Oh, that's such a great tip. Man, there's so much we could talk about. Go ahead. Did you have something else you
Yes,
want?
I wanted to talk about because I find that where the biggest frustration I hear a lot from parents, particularly of younger students, is about directions. So they'll go and say, like, I really want my child to clean up their room, and they'll even post a checklist, like, "Yay," right, thinking this is what I'm
This is
doing,
it.
and I'm right, and I'm like, no, 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 no. Because saying like clean up your room is too big, too hard, too much, too vague. And even a checklist that just says books, clothes, Legos is not enough. When you are giving those type of instructions, they need to be directions. So it's not just books, it's books on shelf, Legos in bin. Your child's brain, particularly if they are young and have executive function challenges, have a very hard time figuring things out.
Yeah.
And if they have to work at figuring it out, if it is not clear, then they are not going to do it. So we want things like books in bin, clothes in hamper, Legos in wherever they go. And if you have little ones, like, first grade and second grade, what I love are photo directions. Take a photo of your child putting the books on the shelf. Take a photo of your child putting their clothes in a hamper. This way, the brain recognizes pictures and color faster and more easily than words. So there's a mirroring image. If the picture is showing me do this, I should be doing this. These are things we could be doing over the summer as time is we have a little more time, and it helps to strengthen that executive functioning brain. We're putting routines and habits into place.
Yeah. Oh, you just have so many good things to share. I feel like we could talk forever, but I know we're cutting a little close on time
Yeah.
here. So tell us this,
Yes.
for the parent who feels like they're failing because their child
Oh.
just can't get it together, what words of hope or perspective would you offer to them?
Oh, I've been there. I've been there. I am very private. My son is 27 and he's amazing and all the things, but he's 27. So I'm very private about what I say about him versus when he was 8 years old. And here's what I am going to say. I'm not Pollyanna-ish where I'm going to say, if you just give like oodles and noodles of love, everything will be fine. But I am not a strict parent either. Here's what I'm going to say to you. If you can do anything, and it's not easy, none of this is easy. You're raising a complex kid. Well, it never ends. But here's what you have to understand about ADHD and executive functioning brains in kids. The thing they need the most is structure. They need organization, not just of their space and stuff, but of what is going on in their world. They need organization, they need structure, they need calm, and they need to never feel like they're being caught off guard. And if my kid was sitting here today, what he would tell you about his mother is she never moved the goalpost. I always knew what was expected of me, and I always knew what the structure was, and she was always fair about it. Consistency is key. What is really disruptive to the ADHD student brain is we're going to do this, and then I'm going to change my mind, and then I'm not going to like enforce it, and then that is like the brain having a heart attack. So if you can be consistent, if you can be calm, if you can be organized and never move that, well, obviously you move the goalposts as they get older, but as long as your child knows what is expected of them, it will come.
Oh, I
It will
love
come.
that. I love that. And thank you for being transparent. I think sometimes you go and you see professionals and you get the sense that they've never really lived with this. They don't really get it. I want
My
you
God.
guys to know we have
Oh,
lived it. We are
lived
still
it.
living it.
I'm still,
And we
I am
get
still,
it. Yeah.
yes, I am still living it, and I have the wounds still that have not healed.
That's right.
But I really feel like when I take a step back and look over, like, all of it and what I talk about with parent coaching, the thing that we work on the most is this need to be consistent. Consistency is safe.
Yeah. I always like to tell my coaching clients one of the biggest triggers is the unexpected. And it's
Right.
what you're saying, when they know what to expect.
Off guard. They need to know. They need to know what is expected and what comes next.
Yeah. And so much of that emotional dysregulation, the meltdowns, the tantrums, whatever, we can take care of if we just start making the expectation clear and consistent.
Very clear. I am so on your page. It's so good that you said that because I get pushback on that. And I'm like, that there is no pushback to be had. It is not easy, but it will pay. It will absolutely pay off and you will build calm and connected kids.
That's right. It really will happen. I promise you.
Yes, it happened. Can I just share one thing? Because you said I'm really careful about like what I share at this point, but my husband and I used to say, if we could just if we could freeze dry our son and get him to like high school, like he would be, okay. Because elementary and middle school were the hardest years for him. And we were right. Like once he got to high school and once he found his thing, which was music, he thrived. And I think he really came into his own, believe it or not, in college. Like college was the biggest, where some kids don't. For him, it was amazing. So keep the consistency, keep the calm, keep the order, keep the conversation. A lot of C words.
Yeah. If you aren't sure what to do, just start going through some C words, and there's some really good ones there.
And fight and advocate for your child at school. That is their big order out of chaos on that. We are constantly fighting for advocating for our students.
And it is okay. I think some parents just need to be given the permission. It is okay. Yeah. It is okay if you rock the boat. It is okay.
We are disruptors.
That's right. And we are supporters. And sometimes to support, you do the disrupting. Wow, what a powerful and practical conversation. Leslie, thank you so much for joining us.
I love talking with you, Jamie.
I love when you share your wisdom, and it's so empowering. I know so many parents will breathe a little easier realizing that they can support their child's executive functioning without overhauling their entire summer. And,
no, they don't have to.
Whether it's building the small routines or helping their child take ownership for their day or their schedule, or just knowing that they're not alone in the struggles, you've given us so many tools and perspectives. Go ahead.
I have one fun thing. So normally during the school year, when you are planning with your child, unfortunately, they have to plan all the have-tos before they get to the want-tos, right? They plan their tests, their homework, their activities, and then they look at their schedule and say, okay, I have some free time on Saturday afternoon. What we like to do over the summer, I'm sorry I didn't say it sooner, is because we work with students even over the summer, is we flip the switch and we say, let's plan, we call it scheduling the unscheduled. So what we do is we bubble wrap their quote unquote free time, like the time for them to do absolutely nothing, or whatever it is they want to do. And what we find is when we do that first, the scheduling the unscheduled, we have way more buy-in from students who, let's say, have homework over the summer. We have plenty of kids who are taking AP classes and things like that. Or, hey, you need to be working on this summer. Or, hey, I don't want you sitting on your screens all summer. There's more buy-in when we first do the scheduling of the unscheduled. So if you're working with your student to kind of plan the summer, try that first. Because it's summer and there should be a little looser. So reverse it for a change and see what you get.
Oh, I am going to try that today because we are actually working today on our summer bucket lists. And what do you want your day to look like?
What do you want your day to look like? So start with the unscheduled, and I guarantee you will have more buy-in for the things that they need to do.
That is awesome. Thank you so much, Leslie. Parents, you've got this. And remember, summer doesn't have to be chaotic. With a little intention and support, it can be a great time of growth, connection, and even what we really want, that calm. So enjoy your time together. Well, that's it for today. But the journey to calm parenting doesn't stop here. If you are nodding in agreement, laughing, or maybe even crying, don't worry, we've all been there. Make sure to share this podcast with a friend who might need it too. Don't forget to connect with us at parentingwithpersonality.com or join our Parenting with Personality Facebook group. I'd love to support you there. And until next time, you've got this. Just keep calm and parent on.
I like that. That's cute.